So we just went and saw Ford versus Ferrari. Wait, what? Is that right?
The company's called Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari. Hold on, let me do that again. So we just went and saw Ford versus Ferrari.
It's a movie kind of set in the past, maybe I'd say 40 or 50 years going in to the 1960s. Ford Motor Company decided at one point they wanted to make the fastest sports car in the world.
They sure did, in this movie at least. For a couple years, actually, we got a brief history lesson at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the movie's concerned, what would you rate it, Joe?
I'd probably give this movie maybe about an 8 out of 10. It was well directed, pacing was suspicious at sometimes, but overall it was a real cool story. I'm big into racing sequences, which this movie had a lot of, so I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Personally, I'd give it about a 6. Honestly, the pacing, like he said, was really slow in the beginning, so I was kind of like losing myself, you know? But then once it picked up towards the later half of the movie, it definitely picked up.
So I guess now we've given out our ratings and our numbers for the movie. We're now going to go into spoiler territory. So, spoiler alert. Vroom vroom. This is a racing movie set in the early 1960s. So Ford is the company that's being focused on here a lot. So you see Henry Ford II. You see people. I can't remember the different management levels, but one of the ones that stood out was Lee Iacocca. Lee Iacocca is a motivational speaker, but he's this breakthrough guy who worked with Ford over the years, helped create the Ford Mustang, but also got Ford into racing and expanded Ford to be a worldwide known brand in terms of quality of car as well as what the car could do in terms of racing. So in this movie, Ford took on Ferrari, which at the time was the best racing car in the world. They were winning races after races after races, and the one big race that they had was called 24 Hours at Le Mans, which is in Le Mans, France, where basically a driving team would drive through the same 8-mile course through countryside for 24 hours. So in this movie, you see Carroll Shelby. Carroll Shelby, of course, is well known for creating... I just had the name on the top of my head and I forgot. The Cobra, the Ford Mustang Cobra, as well as the other one. It's like the Hornet or something. But basically the Ford GT model was his that he took forward, and working with Ford created some of the fastest and most unique sports cars in the world. So this is a movie that focuses on his relationship with one of his best friends, Ken Miles, who's played by Christian Bale, who's Batman. He does a great job characterizing kind of what it means to be a driver and this high stakes, high rewards racing landscape. He has some amazing wins, and up until Le Mans, he won every big race there was at that point in the early 60s, and all he had to do was finish first. So the plan was that Carroll Shelby's team was going to win outright, but you see that Ford influenced the race to essentially make it so that all three Fords would finish at the same time, so it would make a picture-perfect kind of moment for Ford touting over Ferrari and other companies. But, as Brian will tell you, something went awry during that moment.
Ken Miles got screwed out of the victory. He was clearly gonna win this race, and then he decided, for the better half of himself, you know what? I'm gonna do this photo shoot just like they want. He did that, and some bloke behind him, who was clearly gonna lose, right, took all the fame and glory off of Ken Miles' hands.
So essentially this was a big win for Ford because the COO at the time didn't like Ken Miles and wanted him not to represent Ford because he didn't consider him to be a team player. So by this betrayal, Carroll Shelby's at his lowest during the movie, which he's played by Matt Damon, and has a breakdown. And honestly, it's up to Ken Miles' friend to kind of tell him, hey man, what we're doing is not winning races per se. Like, we're trying to create the most dynamic sports car that's ever existed. And they did. And it shows that Ken Miles and Carroll Shelby worked together for many years to create many, many faster models of the Ford Mustang, won many more races, but unfortunately in the late 60s, Ken Miles was in a car accident, or he didn't make it out alive, and and died. So the movie kind of took that as Carroll Shelby losing a close friend, someone who kind of understood what it took to be a driver, the same way Carroll Shelby, who won the 24 Hours of Le Mans and was a famous driver. Only that the language that they could understand, so they defied odds and created the fastest sports car to ever live.
Sure
right,
did.
ever be created at that time.
Yeah.
And now when you think of Ford, one of the first brands that comes to mind is Mustang. It's well known around the world, but also Ford has been doing some amazing things in NASCAR, and just been killing it over the years. So it just kind of was interesting to see this movie focus on Ford racing being pushed to the top brim of racing excellence with companies like Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, and all those. So yeah, so that was our take on Ford versus Ferrari. It was a very interesting story about some hard-headed guys who didn't want to work with what corporate told them, and essentially, if that person knows exactly what they're doing, they're going to lead you to greatness. Why question them? This person knows exactly what they're doing. They were almost seemed like they were meant to do it. So focus on them rather than looking, to kind of better the company. It's more or less focusing on these guys who really push people from the inside forward, the unknown, unsung heroes of leadership. So, yeah, it was a cool movie.
Yep.
I hope you guys go see it too. It's a fun little movie. It is a little long, about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So make sure you're in it for the long haul. But yeah, if you've seen the movie, comment below what was your favorite part of the movie, and maybe what's your favorite car brand. I'd say mine's probably, or maybe race car brand. I would say mine is probably Lamborghini. I love Lamborghinis, the way they're designed and the way they're outfitted. Do you have one?
I have no idea.
But how about you guys comment yours down below, and maybe we'll have a little discussion. But that's Grandmaster Spills the Beans.
Moo!